The first thing you want to do is to turn the machine around to the back side. There are three things that you need to make sure are happening. Locate the ball dump lever, which I've indicated here with the red circle. The first thing in setting up the machine to play is to make sure that this lever is in the down position where the arrow indicates. That stops all the balls from running out. When the ball drop lever is in the down position, it blocks the balls from coming off of the brass ramp. When it's in the up position, like I show it here, all the balls can run down the ramp and down this tube on the side and completely out of the machine. You'll only make this mistake once. The second thing to find is the payout seesaw, which is indicated here by the circle. Make sure that the payout seesaw is down on the left-hand side and up on the right-hand side. Having it the other direction is incorrect, because when it's in this incorrect position, there will be no payoff when you've hit the jackpot. So for the seesaw, up on the right, down on the left. And the third thing is to make sure you have containers to catch the balls for the center and the right hand chute at the bottom of the machine. You don't necessarily need a container for the left hand chute because you've already set the ball dump lever to the correct position. So step one, you have the correct setting on the ball dump lever. Step two, you have the payout seesaw correctly set. And step three, you have containers to catch the balls at the bottom of the machine. Once you've done this, there's nothing left to do except load the balls. So as you can see, the balls have filled up the upper part of the tracks, and the ball drop lever is doing exactly what it should do because it's been set in the correct position. So start playing and hit your first winner. And prepare to be very upset, because the first winner after you set up the machine only fills the jackpot. It doesn't pay out. So you'll be able to see the balls that went into the jackpot through the front. It's a little hard to see on the video, but when a jackpot is ready, there are 15 balls around that circle. We'll go ahead and give you a second winner. And you can see it's much better this time. Have fun, boys! Sometimes you get balls hung up in the win payoff lever. And if this happens, you can sometimes just trip that little lever. They'll fall down. If not, just pull it down, and that'll clear those balls out. And here's a photo showing where this is located. Sometimes the payout seesaw will not correctly reset to the up position, and if that's the case, any winning balls that you might get won't pay out. Instead, they'll get caught up in this chamber that we're pointing out here. This feature was built in so that players in the parlors could keep on playing even after the feeder tray had run out of balls, and then the attendant would come over and trigger jackpots for any winning balls that occurred after the feeder tray ran out. So if you happen to get balls in this chamber, you just need to trigger the little spring-fed lever push it upward and it'll kick the ball out and send it back on the path to trigger a jackpot payout. And as long as you have balls in the feeder tray, you can keep triggering jackpots with as many balls as you have in the seesaw chamber. Then, of course, the final step is to reset the seesaw so it will pay out. I was having a problem with this little ramp. It's mainly used in the parlors when they have to work on the machine from the back. The problem is it was half in and half out, so balls were getting hung up. So I don't think you'll have a problem with it, but if you should have balls start to get caught up, you can open up the inspection port like I'm doing here and look down, and if there are any balls that do get caught up, here's how you get rid of them. If you put too many balls in the shooter, the spring won't be powerful enough to shoot them out into the playing field. So to gain access to the playing field and to remove the balls, you'll need to raise the glass slightly so you can reach in and take them out. The first step is to locate the glass clamp at the very top of the case. It's a small metal hinge and a wooden block that rotates. Push the lower leaf of the hinge upward so it clears the wooden block, and the block is free to rotate. It's a little hard to do sometimes, but just gently push it over and make sure that it's clear of the slot that the glass needs to move through. Place your hand flat at the bottom of the glass and push inward towards the machine to get enough friction to begin to push the piece of glass upward until it clears the area you need. You might have noticed that the glass got hung up right after I started moving it. What's happening is that the glass is out of line with the slot in the frame. So what I'm doing here is reaching around with my right hand and pushing the glass forward towards me so it lines up. Sometimes you'll need to push the glass toward the back of the machine, but just look down into the slot and you can see how it's not aligned, and adjust gently to make it line up. Then lift the glass as high as you need to in order to remove the balls. And at this point you can lower the glass and continue playing. If you need to take the glass completely out of the machine, you can continue on and just lift the glass up. You can see here I'm grabbing it by both sides and moving it out of the way. And putting the glass back in is pretty simple. You just line it up with the slot and gently put it back into where it belongs. It's relatively easy. You can see here that I have a little bit of movement I have to do, but grab it with your hand when you can't hold it from the top and let it go back into place. And then, of course, the final step is securing the glass clamp in reverse order to the way you unloosened it. And finally, how to clear all the balls out of the machine. As you might have guessed, put a cup under the bottom and set the ball dump lever in the dump position. All the balls will come out and we hope stay in the container and not go over the floor. And one last thing, you'll need to clear the balls that are in the jackpot. The way you do it is to push up on this lever here, and that'll trigger a jackpot and let all the rest of the balls out. So this machine is definitely from the 1950s. I found a photograph of Christmas 1960 when my father, our Santa Claus, brought the machine back from Japan. He was returning from a 6-month deployment overseas on a carrier, and he brought it back. And we've had it in the family ever since. Machines got changed out in the Pachinko parlors fairly frequently. So the sailors and soldiers and so forth that went over to Japan at that time were able to purchase them. I think later on my dad mentioned he spent something like under $5 for it. But this was a machine that had been used and had been outdated. The machine came with a bunch of balls, and we've lost quite a few of them over time. They also were pretty rusted, so I tried to clean them up as best I could. You will probably need to, or probably want to at some point, purchase some more balls. And you can find them available on the internet. I think I saw some maybe like 500 balls for $30. So how much is the machine worth? Well, it's probably worth about $3, just what Grandpa or great grandpa paid for it. Apparently, the machines that are currently vintage and collectible are from the 1970s into the 1990s. In the 60s and 70s, they started adding lights, and then later on motors and auto feeds and things to make the play a lot more effective and to minimize the number of attendants that they had to have running around, making sure that things were working. So even though the 1950 machines are not in demand, there still are people that want them. Apparently, the price of a machine, in all seriousness, is not as much as you think. A used machine can go anywhere from $20 to maybe a couple hundred, depending on whether, number one, all the parts are there, number two, it works, and what kind of condition it's in. So the good thing about this machine is that it doesn't have any missing parts. The only two fixes that I made on it that are not authentic is I put that metal screw in the feeder tray because the feeder tray was really bent up and the balls were falling out. So I had to kind of rework that, and I had to put the metal screw in. And then on that little inspection ramp in the back, there's that ugly looking cotter pin. It was the only thing I could find in my stuff that would fit. Really ought to have some sort of a rivet there. But beyond that, pretty much everything is authentic. I did replace the piece of glass. I think that's the second time that we've done that. It broke in a move one time, I believe, and my dad cut a new piece. This one, when I took it out, there was a lot of gunk and stuff on the glass, and I was lazy, and there's some chips in it at the bottom that you couldn't see, but I decided just to go spend $10 and go down to the local hardware store and have them cut a new piece for me. So there's really not a lot that's changed on it. There are people who will restore machines. You can go on the internet and just search that out, and I've found like a half a dozen different people that do it, either as hobbies or full-time jobs. You know, you'll pay close to $1,000, maybe upwards of $1,000 to get a machine completely restored. They will take every part off, clean it up. They'll take off the playing field and put a new graphic on the back. There are people that make new graphics or that will replicate the graphics that you have. That's something that people do, and like I said, you can find a lot more information on the internet about the machines and different models and so forth. But we hope you have fun playing it. Don't lose too many balls, and if the balls run out on the floor, be real careful you don't trip. Have a lot of fun.